So radiation is the power, the energy of the stars. It is the heavenly energy, you can think, the energy of heaven. So when understanding maybe old Taoist texts or any kind of like spiritual occultic text, you can understand that this is relating to what we now think of as radiation. And of course, radiation is electromagnetic frequency under different names. Like gamma radiation is your more so like pure energetic kind of thing, and then you've got lower radiations. I believe technically you'd call microwave radiation, or you call a radio wave radiation. So all throughout the spectrum you can think. And radiation, of course, heats things up, and I think it is actually one of the keys to something like anti-gravity. If you look into John Hutchinson, his work, he goes into and used a lot of like acoustic technology and different. I think he did a lot of radio wave, work. And I was imagining that radio waves, specifically high energy radio waves, probably cause anti-gravity and all kinds of other interesting phenomena. One interesting thing is that by around the 1950s, America had essentially conquered electromagnetic technology. There's lots of really good military, like Air Force, Marine, and all kinds of just military videos on radio and electromagnetic technology and frequency and such, crystal oscillators, etc. Crystal oscillators are interesting. It's essentially like a plate of quartz that's vibrating. If you think like a drum, you bang a drum and it ripples up and down, it waves and vibrates. It goes whoa, 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 whoa. And that's essentially the crystal oscillators, because if you look into smell technology and taste technology, actually, they use a crystal oscillator, or essentially just a sheet of quartz, like a disc of quartz. Like if you rip open a various megahertz crystal oscillator generator that they use for like radios and all that, it's just a plate of quartz tuned to a certain frequency, right? And then they put like a polymer. Some kind of polymer solution on top of this, like a plastic that has an affinity, or essentially it absorbs or attracts certain chemicals. So one type of chemical would be like alcohols, another type would be like maybe fruits, essential oils, another one would be like, I don't know, organic, like waste smells of like, animals and such. And you have a bunch of these smell sensors, and they essentially are calculating the frequency. Well, it's like the weight of the air, so to speak, the weight of the molecule of the smell, because the smell is just like a vaporized thing in the air, right? And a taste is just that thing in the water, and it's measuring like the heaviness of it, so to speak. Same thing as a microphone, right? Microphone, at least you could make a piezoelectric microphone, which is a quartz microphone, right? One of those discs, usually you'd put them on like an instrument that you haven't put electronics in, right? You don't have a pickup or anything, and it just measures the vibration. And that's converted to a computer. This is kind of beyond the point, but it's an interesting thing to think about. That you convert that to a computer, which is basically it's taking the up and down ripple, and that's a frequency, right? That's what frequency is. It's just an up and down ripple, mathematically at least. And you're converting that to a computer thing that you can use on a computer, data, and then you can have databases of sound, smells, tastes, sight, whatever you want, right? So these things are important, and of course they're using the radios to tune and to transmit and all that. Anyway, point being is that America had essentially conquered all of this like electromagnetic technology in around the 50s, and all of this like phones, televisions, all kinds of advancements, even probably vehicles to an extent, are military technologies. You know, we think airplanes. Why is it that people have supposedly taken pictures and seen airplanes just, like passenger airplanes, just levitating in air, not moving? Those military jets, you know, people have said they kind of move quicker than they should be able to, or they have more aerodynamic capabilities than they should be able to. Is it because there's anti-gravity technology inside of them? I'm kind of assuming there is, to be honest. So also you got to think, you know, by World War II, Europe and America had also conquered chemistry. You see, chemistry really was understood. And even to a lesser extent, like electromagnetism was also conquered. Not really frequency electromagnetism, like, you know, radiation and all that, but more like motors and generators and such. That was, you know, you look back at Tesla. What was that? The early 19th century or the late 18th century? Around those periods is where, you know, chemistry and early electric understanding, like motors and such, was really, and even electromagnetic physics was really pioneered. Really, by again World War II, chemistry had pretty much, you know, reached its zenith point. You can think where we had really understood it. One interesting little side point is apparently the Russians used to use a swastika as their symbol. And there's all this, you can find it, you can actually buy it in some places, allegedly. I don't know how real it is online, but there's like websites and like, with this red mercury, like there's two kinds. There's firstly like a liquid, which is red, which is supposedly, they say it's a red mercury. And then there's the second one, which is actually mercury, like a liquid metal, and it's red. Now, there's ideas where this has been, where they've used antimony and they've like fused the mercury and antimony together, heated it for ages. There's ideas that this is also the Philosopher's Stone. There's ideas that this is like mercury imbued with radiation and such, and of course we kind of have to be careful. You know, this is all alleged. You know, I'm not pushing any of this shit because governments kill people over this kind of stuff. Point being is that the Russians in the, the early 1910, I think, had like leaders and leaders and leaders of stuff which people are buying online and doing experiments with, and then the Germans took it. You know, they took the eagle and the swastikas or whatever that. Forget what bird they used, and then they have leaders and leaders and leaders of this stuff. I'm talking like probably, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of leaders they made of this stuff. It's insane. So what were they doing before World War II? And then it kind of leads on to the idea of the Glocken, you know, that bell-shaped UFO, where it's like they have this material which is this. Because if you look up the videos of what this red stuff does, it basically interferes with electronics. It causes metals to heat up. It's so hot that they basically start vaporizing themselves. It's just a high energy, extremely radioactive material. And then, of course, we think about the ideas of alchemy. If you look at, what's his name? Was it? Who basically said that, who talked about the atom bomb before the atom bomb, and there's a lot of ideas going about where the Philosopher's Stone is essentially just super high energy radioactive material. You know, mercury, of course, being a absorber of radio waves and transmitter of it, an almost perfect crystal clear transmitter, like an analog one, you could say, I guess. And then all this stuff being banned. You know, why is it that radium was used, the idea of a radiator, or for radium for the old heaters, because it would basically, you would give off, you know, radiation, it would give off heat, and they used radium for like everything back again, early 19th century. It's chemistry and electronics and electricity was very well understood 100 years ago. That's what we really got to understand, how intelligent, how, you know, developed 100 years ago all this stuff was. So radiation is a huge key, I think, into all this. I think it's going to be we have nuclear power plants, but then we're getting, well, we already have technically nuclear batteries, which is basically just metal that's been irradiated, and then it's got like a capturing. It's kind of like a solar panel, I think, essentially. That it because again, what's a solar panel? It just captures the radiation from the sun, or from a light bulb. You can use maybe even a campfire. I don't know. I haven't tested a campfire, but it's absorbing radiation. If you get a bunch of nuclear waste and you put a bunch of radiation absorbing things, you're going to make a bunch of electricity, right? And then eventually, as our generators get better and better, we can just transform pure electrostatics, and you can it's a bit like the demon core idea, or is it the demon core, that thing that there's two halves which connect together, and then it just starts giving off tons of, I think it was gamma radiation. It looks like electrostatic. It's like a blue corona, right? Eventually we'll get to the point where we can just harvest that. I mean, we already can do a lot of this stuff. It's just that there's so much petrochemical infrastructure, and I guess all kinds of other infrastructure, even wind farm, even solar infrastructure, that is like, you come along and you say, well, we can just use rocks which give off heat and invisible energy, and we can just absorb it for power. Or even better, you can just stick a piece of metal up in the sky and absorb the the electrostatic, assuming they're not already doing it. There's some evidence that in England and such, that's why the power lines are so high there. That's a whole other thing. So yeah, UFO technology and such. My assumption as to why radio waves would do it is because it's a denser wave. You're not really using a gamma wave, like a higher radioactive, shorter looking wave, smaller wave to do something like that. That's more what you use to manipulate small things, right? To probably transmute small things. I mean, who knows? Maybe you use radio waves to transmute things as well. But the way I see it is like you're stimulating something. It's causing like a vibration. It's probably losing its weight. Again, gravity's not really real. It's everything is just weight and density. It's what you got to think. So you're not trying to fight gravity. You're trying to fight weight. By either eliminating it, or the idea of the gyroscope, it spins and things, the weight is kind of different. It's kind of weird now. It's like the only thing that has weight is the pole where the gyroscope is turning around, right? So through rotation, you've fixed that. Anyway, so like compiling all this together, we got ideas of mercury, special forms of mercury, radioactive materials, and understanding of radio waves and electromagnetism. And again, as I said, by the 50s, America had pretty much mastered all this stuff. Even technically by the 30s, 40s, they were pretty good, if you want to look at military technology. So I assume kind of why, why if people... I assume governments probably don't want people open sourcing free energy and levitation technology, firstly because it gets in the way of certain companies, the petrochemical industry, but also because China and, countries that America has pissed off can go on the internet and look up the open source schematics and patents and diagrams and copy them, and then, assuming they don't already have this stuff, of course. If you really look into the whole UFO stuff, you see it happening around the Cold Wars. I imagine by the Cold War, what was that, like the 60s or the 60s, 70s? I'm not great on my history when it comes to America, but imagine by that point they already had, they accumulated all of those German scientists from World War II. They had basically conquered radio wave technology, microwave technology as well. By that point, chances are they were playing around with that. and they've already integrated a lot of that stuff into airplanes. And you got to think, airplanes, there's like 5 countries in the world that manufacture airplanes. I think it's England, France, America, Germany, and I'm actually not sure who else, but there's only like a couple countries that actually manufacture airplanes. Why is that? Why is it that no one else can really do that? China's trying to, I think India's trying to, they still haven't really gotten it there. So you got to think, probably, assuming my information isn't wrong, which it could be, you got to think, even in like India or Dubai or China, you go there and it's like all these airplanes are probably made in like France or England or something. It's interesting to think, I guess. Either way, look, my idea is that if you're really dedicated and you have the time and you're smart enough, you could probably already build a UFO. You could probably already build a levitating faster than light vehicle. And you know what? I think you could build it pretty cheap. Well, as cheap as, you build a fucking UFO for. But point being, I don't think it's that expensive. I don't think it's that complicated. I think for a couple grand worth of various materials here and there, if you splash a few grand here, splash a few grand there, if you know how to build your own stuff, how to source the right stuff, depending on how big you want it, you can probably get stuff. You can probably start doing crazy transmutations of matter, creation of meta materials, because again, we've got to think, like, I think microwaves are the future of forges. I think, if you look into microwave transmutational experiments with like quartz, there's a lot of interesting stuff there. What if you push that further? Chances are, government research agencies have already done that. We'd assume. These people aren't stupid. That's the thing we've got to think. Either way, yeah. When are we going to get when are they going to tell us that the technology's here? Who knows? Considering we're probably coming up on another war, and we have the internet, and people are getting a lot smarter, I would say, assuming probably soon, they'll tell us, or they'll just say, "Oh, look, we developed new things," or people will be like, "Hey, isn't that like aircraft a little too aerodynamic? Isn't that a little too, I don't know, something's going on. Isn't this technology all too, it's like the idea of nuclear reactors on submarines, right? What is that really? It's just what I said with, you get a thing that gathers energy from nuclear stuff, probably. All this stuff the technology is there. Pretty much everything's been figured out already. That's what I'm trying to say. 70 years, it was pretty much all figured out. Now we're just getting like the consumer, the more like, smartphones. What are they? It's just radio technology, computer technology, just in handheld form. Eventually you'll get it in a watch form, we already have it in a watch form. You'll get it in a glass form. You'll get it in a direct to brain form. It's just, again, different forms of the same thing. But the original technology for all kinds of crazy shit, as I said, transmutation, levitation, faster than light, probably all kinds, like instant transmission of communications and emails and such. It's probably all there. I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. It's probably all there already. You just have to figure the physics out and understand it, or build it, or do whatever you want. Anyway, that's enough for this one. Of course, have a good day, and check the links in the description for social and commercial stuff, and goodbye.